tend to have that mentality that God is only glorified if I look perfect. Is that true?
Well, it's actually it's funny because when I was a child, I would be taught all these heroes of the Bible, and I'm like, I would get so angry because I'm like, none of them are perfect.
Yes.
I'm not looking up to any of these people, but no, actually, he gets glorified in all that we do, our perfections and our mistakes, and that's one thing that is really hard, even for non-Christians, to understand, that our mistakes, and in our flaws, who we are, the quirkiness and everything, is not a surprise to God. He didn't go, oops, I didn't mean to make that. I didn't mean for you to be dyslexic. I didn't mean for your son to be. No, he did it on purpose. And it's because he is glorified in our weakness. Paul talks about, when he talks about the thorn in his flesh, the fact that his weakness reveals that God is strong. And part of that is because we've learned that we have to depend on God. We have to turn to him. Every time we make a mistake, we realize, oh, I'm not strong enough to do this by myself.
Yeah.
And when we start thinking that we are strong enough to do this by ourselves, we lose a place for God. We forget that we are created. We are not little gods ourselves. And our weaknesses, our flaws, they're not really also just to squash us down either. They're also part of kind of the journey of discovering what we're made to do, because we're all part of one body. We all have a point and a purpose and a gift. And the gifts don't really look sometimes like a gift. I never really thought of my dyslexia as a gift.
Right.
Then I actually read a book called The Gift of Dyslexia.
Oh, I love that book. Yes.
It's really wonderful because it's kind of like, oh, I have a superpower. I perceive the world in such a different place. And they don't have a book called The Gift of Autism, but really it needs to be written because children on the autistic spectrum see the world in such a unique way. And often I'll meet another parent of a child on the autistic spectrum, and they'll say, "What's your child's thing?" Like my son's thing is machines, and he's 9 years old, and he can fix vacuum cleaners and washing machines. And you're like, you're old of a 9-year-old. Now, he can't tie shoes, and he can't, but he has a gift. And I've met other parents who their child's gift is animals, or their child's gift is art, or there is a gift sometimes hidden within the disability, within the quirk, within the obsession. And sometimes we think something is a curse, and it's not. It's really a blessing. We just haven't learned how to do it, and a lot of times we have to turn to God to find out how to use this as a gift, because if we try to do it ourselves, we're really not strong enough. We're just not strong enough.
Yeah, well, our vision gets so clouded by society, and what society says that should define you as, instead of what that could bring you to. And truly, that as a church, we should be better at that.
Right. Because my husband calls the church a gathering of misfits, because that's what we're supposed to be. I mean, we are really odd, quirky people. When you get past the facade, once I've gotten to know pretty much everybody, I've always thought, how odd, because we really are unique. And when we're trying to keep that perfected front, we lose that uniqueness. We lose all the things that make us the gem that God created at this time, at this moment, for this purpose. The Bible talks about, the ear and the eye and the foot, looking down on each other for their uniqueness. And we all want to be an eye, or,
Exactly.
No, we need to be ourselves, what God created us to be.
Well, and it never looks right when you're trying to be somebody else. That, and or try to copy what made that person, either popular or whatever. You will fill that spot and be fulfilled. And I see that in our kids too, is that if you can spend more time on focusing what they shine in and how God gifted them, that it just opens up a world to them that I have a purpose. I was created for a reason. I'm not a mistake, which unfortunately that's what our world tells them over and over again. But there's so much
I
hope.
do. Yeah.
There's so much hope when we look at it from the perspective of a God who does not make mistakes.